Welcome to my study today. I'm going to finish off our first lesson about defining relative clauses. We'll compare them with non-defining relative clauses, and I'll talk a little bit about the word what and why you shouldn't really use it in defining clauses. Oh, and there's an exercise for you at the end of the video. Let's get started. In relative clauses, we can use the pronouns whose, whom, where, and why. And let's look at the possessive one first, whose. Here are two sentences. That is the artist, his work I was telling you about. And we can combine that into one. That is the artist whose work I was telling you about. And we can do the same thing with the other pronouns, her and their. So we can put down a rule really, can't we, and say for people we can use whose. What's the name of the boy whose book you borrowed? But how do we use whom? Whom is beginning to disappear a little bit in modern English, but if you read a lot you will certainly see it. So let's explain how we use it. Two sentences. The doctor was on holiday. I wanted to see him. And you can see that him is the object of the relative clause. So I can say, the doctor whom I wanted to see was on holiday. But I've put it in brackets because we can leave it out. And we can leave it out because it's the object of the relative clause. And I've explained that in the previous video, and I'll put a link at the bottom if you want to refer back to that to see how it's done. It can be quite confusing, so check it very carefully. We can use whom with prepositions, to whom, from whom, with whom, like this. The girl with whom I fell in love left me after 2 weeks. Now you probably think that's a very formal sentence, and actually you would be quite right. I don't think anybody would say that in spoken English. They would more likely say, the girl who I fell in love with. Now notice whom has changed to who. And actually you could leave it out. The girl I fell in love with. It's much less formal and much more common in modern English. We can use where in a defining relative clause like this. Here are our two sentences again. The hotel was 5-star. We stayed there. And we can make one sentence. The hotel where we stayed was 5-star. You can do a similar thing with the word why. And you can say why something happens. The reason why, or if you want to say it, the reason that, they are equal here, I'm phoning you, is to remind you to put the cat out. What's the difference between a defining and a non-defining relative clause? Let's look first at a defining relative clause. The wine which was in the cellar was ruined.
Oops.
Do we mean all of the wine or some of the wine? Well, because which was in the cellar was ruined defines the wine, we only mean some of the wine. The wine which was in the house wasn't ruined. But now look at this sentence. The wine which was in the cellar was ruined. Now you notice I say that in a different way because we have two commas, one at the beginning of the extra information clause and one at the end. The wine, which was in the cellar, was ruined. And notice another thing, I could take out which was in the cellar and I still would have a sentence which makes sense. The wine was ruined. So this is a non-defining relative clause. It means all of the wine was ruined. And we welcome commas. We welcome commas in non-defining relative clauses. You start the new information and you finish the new information with a comma. And that's a big difference from a defining relative clause. Now here's a warning. We avoid that in non-defining relative clauses. But here are some of the words that we do use for people and things. Take some time to read through the table so you understand the relative pronouns for non-defining relative clauses. Here's John and his sister Mabel. John is going to tell us something about Mabel, but he's going to do it in writing, because for non-defining relative clauses you mostly see them written rather than spoken. My sister Mabel, who met you yesterday, is going to university. My sister Mabel, whom you met yesterday, is going to university. My sister Mabel, whose letter I showed you, is going to university. My sister Mabel, about whom we were talking, is going to university. Now a close look at those sentences will show they all have extra information in red, and they are non-defining relative clauses. And you cannot leave out the relative pronoun. It has to go in. And if you take out the red part of each sentence, you find each sentence is exactly the same and it still makes sense. My sister Mabel is going to university. And now let's have a look at the word what. Here are our friends, the relative pronouns, and they're all looking a bit worried, aren't they? The reason is they're not quite sure what to do about what. And when it comes to relative clauses, defining or non-defining, it's really best not to use what. What never relates back to an antecedent. Now, an antecedent is something which happened before in the sentence or something which you've already spoken about. And here's a definition. What is the thing which or that which you've already mentioned? And you use it like this in a sentence. John got the thing which he wanted. Now that's an unusual way of speaking English, and a better way would be to say he got what he wanted. But the what, you notice, doesn't relate to something which came first in the sentence. It relates to what he wanted. Here's quite a common mistake. Luigi couldn't sing "What Was a Pity." No, we can't say that. Luigi couldn't sing "Which Was a Pity." Some rather difficult things there, I think, but if you've enjoyed my lesson, could I ask you to please subscribe below and ring that bell. And now here are some exercises for you to try yourselves. Exercise 1. Add relative pronouns to the following sentences. The answers follow. Exercise 1. Answers. Next time we shall look at much, many, little, few, a lot and plenty. So thanks for watching, please subscribe below and I'll see you next time. Bye!